Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here. Just recently my channel hit over 200,000 subscribers, so I'd like to thank you all who have recently subscribed, and for those who have been watching my content over the last number of years. I still see people commenting on videos who commented on my stuff over 7 years ago. But also this month it marks the 10th anniversary of my YouTube channel. I started this back in November of 2011. I reviewed Superman 4, a movie that not everyone likes. At the time, no one had really covered the film on YouTube, and what I'm doing now, I never had foreseen that I'd be doing this for that long, or would become sort of a YouTuber and see this as some sort of career. At the time, it was just a hobby. Like most people who do YouTube, they start out as a hobby, and the more popular they get, they make that decision to either sort of quit their job or decide to sort of make YouTube their full-time career when they had, at the time, maybe perhaps no work going on. I was very lucky at the time because 2011, most people reviewing movies were either just doing it for sort of comedy. It was very much the angry review format which dominated YouTube at that time, and those who stuck with their guns with the angry review format are still going today, like the case of Nostalgia Critic and James Rolfe as the angry video game nerd. But everyone else who sort of copied that sort of fell by the wayside. But for me, my inspiration for doing this was to make sort of mini sort of documentaries or kind of educational reviews. That was really my goal. But my goal, even on my first video, wasn't to continue that trend for each video. I produced one video, as I mentioned, on Superman 4. I shared it with the Superman fan community, and they really enjoyed it. So, and my good friend Tim, who I've known since the late 90s, Tim has been on my channel a number of times doing audio commentaries. He directed my Superman 4, the documentary about Milton Keynes and the film's production design. He also has a retrospective coming up soon on my channel on Darkwing Duck. So anyone who loves animation from the early 90s should adore this video. Tim was very integral in sort of getting me to continue doing this very early on, because he was like, this is really good, do some more. And that was my sort of goal from that point, was to produce a video once a week or every 2 weeks, and it sort of kind of snowballed, right? And at the time I wasn't making money from it. You know, it took me about 3 years to actually earn some money from doing what I do, and spending weeks or 2 weeks making a video, it can be very time consuming. And people who have watched my stuff over the years, they have, you know, seen what I've done and gone, I want to do that, and try to do it themselves. Some have found success, and some have sort of given up after 1 or 2 videos, because you really have to have the drive and the passion to really want to do it. The mentality of people is like that monkey see, monkey do thing, where I want to do that, I want to make money from YouTube, I want to quit my job and do that. Weirdly, I think there was a survey done recently where most kids or young teenagers want to be YouTubers or streamers, and everyone just kind of wants to see that as their ultimate goal to find success. And finding any success on this platform is really difficult. I think there's so many people doing everything, doing movies, games, reviewing cars, planes, watches, anything you can think of, someone's doing it. And to sort of find your place in all of that can be very tough. And as mentioned, I was quite lucky, because at that time there wasn't that many people doing what I did, and I sort of stuck with it. And you know, I've seen people surpass me now who do something similar or review something completely different, but very much in the same sort of structured format of kind of retrospectively looking back at something. Weirdly, at the time, when I called it a retrospective, because I was taking inspiration from Screw Attack. They had done these great videos on the Resident Evil kind of video games, which are still really good today. The quality is not very good because it's like 240p, but extremely well written and produced. But they sort of inspired me to take that kind of format and put it into movies. Nowadays, when you put retrospective in, everyone's doing a retrospective on Jaws or a Bond film, so it just seems to be an easy way to sort of kind of fight your way through the sort of algorithm to find, well, for people to find your videos. And doing YouTube is, you know, is not always fun. You know, it's always kind of problematic, or it's like copyright's always a problem with doing things that I do. So I made a very conscious effort to sort of contact the film studios at the time and to sort of create a sort of, working relationship, or to let them know who I was, and I wasn't communicating with this kind of automated system. I was talking to a human who could help me out. So that's kind of been very beneficial. Well, any advice I would offer to people who want to do YouTube as a sort of either a hobby or a career, it's not, you have to do a lot of hours, and you really have to have the drive to do it, but also you've got to have a thick skin. You can't, if you suffer from anxiety or depression, stay way away from YouTube. It will not help you at all, I don't think, because you can have people, say horrible things about you. And very early on, that it would get to me, but I've developed a thick skin over the years, and just don't let it bother me. You have to sort of focus on what people say positively about you, and thankfully that outweighs the negative. I still enjoy doing YouTube. I have a lot of fun putting a video together and sharing it with people, and you get instant feedback, right? That's the kind of the novelty of YouTube. Where if you're working in a sort of outside of that, in terms of TV, video, and movie production, you don't get that feedback till later on. It could be a year or 2 years later. One of the best things about it is that I've met so many great people over the years, fans who have watched my work, and I've managed to meet them in conventions or just in the social gatherings, and I've stayed in contact with them for the last number of years, and just meeting other like-minded people. But also on the side of that, I never thought YouTube will be my ultimate goal, and wanting to do that full time for the rest of my life. I couldn't foresee doing that, and my stepping stone was to make documentaries, right? So I made In Search of Last Action Heroes. It did very well, thankfully, and feedback was wonderful on it. And then my next project was producing Here Comes a New Challenger, which is on Street Fighter 2. Now, some people were a little bit surprised by that sort of shift from movies to video games. But I've always loved video games, being born in the 80s, but I wasn't really aware of everything going on around me till the late 80s. And I still remember when Batman came out and things like that. But video games were very much part of my youth, and alongside with movies. So I have a pretty good knowledge on video game history, and I've owned pretty much every console under the sun, even a Neo Geo AES twice. It's when I had more money than sense. Don't anymore. I wish I'd. The annoying thing is, I had all these things. I say I had all these things. I even had an arcade in my bedroom. The only people that could confirm that would be my close friends who actually got to play it. But I didn't have a camera. You'd have 35mm camera like everyone, take a photo, and you got to wait for it to be developed. But I didn't have a phone camera. So all these great things I had just been lost to time. And it's frustrating, the whole generation. I think there's like a whole decade where there's no photos of me. Maybe the odd one or two. But if I look back at my old photos, I'm like, oh my God, look at my hair, it's awful. My sort of passion and knowledge of video games and love for Street Fighter 2 is something I really wanted to do with this next documentary. And that is my kind of goal. I'm not saying that once I start making more documentaries, I'm going to stop doing YouTube. I still think it's very important to me, but it's if you've made a documentary, right, I've got kind of released, it's on, you can get it on iTunes or Apple or whatever, Amazon, and then you make a step back and just go back to YouTube, I would think that would be a step back in one's career. I think there's always, for me, it's try and push forward onto the next thing, and the next thing after that. I think after Street Fighter 2, I would certainly probably return to movies as a next sort of feature-length documentary, but I don't know what that would be. I think my mind is just focused now on trying to get Street Fighter finished. I still have reviews I want to get done as well. I need to finish up my Dracula review, which I promised people a couple of weeks ago. There's other movies I need to cover, like The Dark Knight, there's Dune, redux of that. I want to cover like Watership Down, I think that's a very good movie. The Matrix Reloaded, there's still a long list of movies I want to get covered. And I do want to sort of cover more movies that are not just kind of blockbusters from the 80s and 90s, maybe take a look back further to other movies. But I've tried to play that game of covering a movie that isn't just kind of easy fodder, like easy pickings. You do like a smaller indie movie, and at first no one really kind of tunes in to watch it, maybe like a 20% of your audience. You think, oh shit, I made the wrong decision with that one, So, but sometimes, you know, you come back to that video like 6 months later and it's got to 100,000 views. So it's kind of whoever sort of finds it at the time, and people sort of go back through your stuff. And if you put out quite a lot of videos on a monthly basis, not everyone's going to watch each video. They're going to sort of go, oh, I'll catch that later. So there is that kind of knock-on effect, and with my stuff, where the back catalogue still gets watched more so than my newer stuff, which can be like at first like, oh, like the views are quite low on this one, but they're really high on a video I did 3 years ago for this month. You know, baffling. I can never figure out really how YouTube works, to be honest. Everyone has their own theories, ideas of like, oh, we should do this, should do that, this will improve things, and then you try and do it. You take on some advice, it does nothing. It's its own world, its own thing. Also for me, I think there has been a lack of, I suppose, communication on my behalf with my audience. Like, I haven't responded to comments that much recently in the last 12 months. When you start out doing a YouTube channel, I think it's very important to sort of communicate with your audience and chat with your community. But the more popular you get, it just becomes unmanageable, right? So you just like, I can't respond to everything. And I feel bad sometimes where I see people who have been watching my stuff for a very long time and I've not responded. But sometimes people are just writing statements, they're not asking you a question. So I don't feel bad if I don't respond to that. But it's something I do need to improve upon. And I do, for my patrons, I do a Q&A once a month, so there's always communication going on. It's that, you know, if you want to ask me specific questions on a regular basis, then you have to be part of that. But for this kind of update, I did, you know, ask you guys if you had any questions for me, and I've selected a few to respond to. The first question comes from Garrett Bays. He asks, how did you become involved with the first Superman soundtrack collection from Film Score Monthly? Either that, or where did you find your sources for CTS Studios in regards to both Bayswater location and the Wembley location? I'm not sure what you mean about the CTS Studio stuff, but basically, in regards to the Superman soundtracks, in 2000, I'd emailed Ken Thorne. I emailed his agent, who passed me on to Ken Thorne, the composer of Superman 2 and 3. He'd never been interviewed before, and I thought it would be quite wise to sort of chat with him about his experience writing the music for those films. He responded very quickly. We had a great conversation. It was by email at first. He responded to all my questions, and it was published on the sort of now defunct sort of Superman Cinema website. You can find that article, or that interview itself, on capedwonder.com. But Ken had said to me that he'd studied in the Cambridge area in his youth, and he was coming back to Cambridge, which was where I lived at the time, to sort of catch up with his old friends and family. I said, great, this would be wonderful to sort of meet him in person. My friend Tim, who I mentioned earlier, he kind of joined me. We met Ken, and he's with his old friend from school or something like that, in this pub, which is like, it's called the Regal, the Wetherspoons Regal. It used to be a cinema, right? But it still is a cinema on top. It's like a arts picture house. Chatting in there for like, you know, a couple of hours, chatting over his old films, Superman stuff. He signed some soundtracks of mine, which I'll show up on camera. They're somewhere down there. Maybe I'll get them. Wait a sec. Right, okay, so here we go. This is what Ken signed for me. So you can kind of see there. That's there, to Oliver from Ken Thorne. Superman 2 one in there. I think he signed a couple of these because Superman 2 has a variant of the covers, I think. Yeah, so put one there from Ken. And then the other one, I brought a black pen. I shouldn't have done really, but I should have bought silver or gold. Just about to sit there. So yeah, he signed those on the day, which is great. Then I'd emailed Michael Matessino, who had remastered the Star Wars soundtracks and I think the Superman Rhino CD release. I said to Michael, hey look, no, Ken wants to get involved, Ken wants to get his scores remastered and put out there. Michael was like, this is great news. So Michael then took over from that point on. So I essentially got the ball rolling, and it took like 7 years for that box set to come out. So my name is in there, my name is in the booklet, and the next booklets as well. They did Superman, this one here, Superman 2 and 3. So my name's in there in the booklet, which is great. You know, I mean, they didn't have to put my name in there. So yeah, that was something I was really, really proud of. you know, because I'd been a Superman fan since I was a kid, and then being involved in somewhat official capacity with those movies, especially the music, you know, so that was great. Next question is from GT Viper 115. What is your most favourite trailer that you edited? Mine is the opening Escape from New York trailer and the closing to the Terminator trailer. There's some of my recent ones. I really like the Captain America one I did for the first Avenger. There's some like Back to the Future trailer as well for that retrospective. There are some of my older ones where I was a bit overzealous with the time. You know, they'd be like 3 minutes long. People are like, fucking hell, well, this is a bit long. A lot of ums I'm saying at the moment. God, I'm just trying to think. Other ones I'm really happy with, like Transformers retrospective, I think there's a nice trailer to it. When I get the rhythm right and the music kind of builds up to the sort of the end section of the trailer to get you excited, then I feel most happy. Like the Dredd review I did, the 2012 Judge Dredd film. I think that's a really good kind of edit, I think, personally. I get to use the music from Dark City, because the film's score didn't really have a musical moment that would create a trailer, right? So to build up, I used some of the original score, but then I mixed it in with Dark City, the end title music, which has kind of been used a number of times in films like X-Men, and I did use that again with X-Men. Yeah, I mean, I think even like the Ghostbusters ones I did a couple of years ago, I'm like, oh no, that's really quite cool. Ghostbusters 2 trailer I was quite happy with as well. I think I'm happy with most of them. Sometimes I look back and think that is a bit too long. I would have changed that slightly. And then the end montages I used to have a lot of fun with by just getting different music and kind of creating something different, like I did with the Batman trailers, where I'd use Hans Zimmer's music for the end, sort of somewhat give it a slight modern update, which people loved, and also some people were a little bit taken aback by, thinking, oh, it doesn't quite fit. But like Batman and Robin trailer I did with Hans Zimmer's music for the end, I was really happy with that. And then I think some people sort of took inspiration from that and did their own Batman trailer with Hans Zimmer's music, following similar beats. But yeah, it was great to know you enjoyed those trailers. Thank you. The next question is from the Reverend Chef. Do you have an education in some capacity in the film industry, or are you just passionate? Just passionate. I did a sixth form study, which is basically when you're 16 to 18, right? So I did media studies. So this is the late 90s. This is like 99 to 2001. So I was editing with Super VHS, using those kind of massive like broadcast deck tape machines where you've got to wipe the tape clean, then to do a new edit on it, using those like machines to sort of the old classic way of editing. Well, with tape anyway, videotape. We did like broadcast stuff, we did like storyboarding and producing essentially. But it was all very kind of like flimsy, I think, really. I don't think I learned that much, to be honest. It was the first time I used Final Cut Pro. It was the first version of it came out. And we had this like digital Canon camera. This kind of weird shape like that. It's like red. I'll try and find a picture of it. But after that, I just kind of went back into kind of retail. I was working at a video game shop for a number of years, then went into Cineworld and worked as a projectionist. So my education was always come through reading, and you know, I had a big DVD collection, Laserdisc collection as well. So I always watched a lot of commentary, listened to a lot of commentaries, and watched documentaries, and just sort of went that way. So my editing as well is through trial and error. I look back at my very early stuff; it's not very good. Look at my first review, my confidence is not there at all in the video. I'm very sort of softly spoken and quiet. You make one video, you improve upon the next one. So everything's, you know, you learn from your mistakes. And I think now my confidence is certainly far better than it was. I'm not the most confident person, you know. I can be awkward or just say the wrong thing or just stammer or stutter over my words or forget what I'm saying. We don't have smoking too much weed in the past, you know. But yeah, it's a big improvement from my very early stuff. And the next question is from Alyssa Black. What is your favourite retrospective episode, or do you have a couple of favourites? Yeah, I'm very happy with the Alien retrospectives I've done. There's a couple of mispronunciations in Alien Resurrection, which people call me out on. For years, I got the director's name right. When I did the voiceover, I got it wrong. It's like Jean-Pierre Jeunet, but I say Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Ooh. You know, so, and I think like the spaceship's name I got wrong as well. I'm very happy with those. I think I covered enough in there to sort of make them sort of worthwhile to watch. The First Blood review I'm very happy with. Very sort of condensed runtime. It's a good length, about 18 minutes. Very tightly done, and I think I covered every point I wanted to say. Superman 3 retrospective I did about 6 months ago, maybe a bit longer. Very happy with that one. I mean, yeah, even like the Superboy ones I did, which got a 2-part episode. Yeah, that took a long time to do because you've got to watch each episode and make a review and make notes. And yeah, I'm happy with those. I'm happy with most of the ones I do in the last like 3 years. I look back at stuff and I'm just like, that's not very good, or like my editing's changed a lot, or there's little errors I've made in my sort of voiceover, or just like, I always like to cut out moments where I'm just like breathing. You know, you say a sentence, you go, you know, just cut that out. I don't like that, hearing that, those kind of abrupt edits in the audio. But yeah, those are kind of the ones I'm happy with, kind of the last couple of years, I think. I would love to, you know, there's still some I want to go back and redo, you know, like Total Recall, there's Time Cop, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth. There's so many things I want to sort of go back on, but I'm just really running out of time at this point in the stage because I'm juggling producing a documentary and directing it, and juggling YouTube as well. So, and it's having just recently moved as well. So there's like so much going on, and then you got COVID as well. So that caused a lot of hiccups for me, like throughout the year. I think for most people as well, just down to sort of trying to make something. You know, not everyone has the availability kind of set in stone to sort of interview them, and there's always just cautions, and you know, we wanted to fly out earlier to Germany, which we couldn't, and then we managed to do it recently, and that was a fucking ball ache. You know, we got everything we needed, but it was just like the constant tests and paying for tests that weren't even checked when you went back. It's like, why did I spend £80 on that? You know, it's a joke. But anyway, I'm just rambling and complaining about nonsense. But anyway, well, everyone, again, thank you very much for subscribing. Thanks for those who have continued watching my content. There will be more stuff coming soon. But just bear in mind, I am juggling a documentary and basically running a YouTube channel by myself. So it's a lot to do and a lot to sort of deal with behind the scenes. But take care, everyone, and bye for now.